Hey, good morning, South Central Montana. Happy to have you along with us this morning. 6 minutes after the hour. It's Wednesday, April 24, 2019. A nice, comfortable 50 degrees outside. Shay Montalban on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. And Tom Eaglehoff, your morning mayor in the house. And you're on the KMMS Morning Soapbox. So, Shane, how you doing today?
Well, it's a rip-roaring day. You know, it's getting towards the middle of the week. It's a hump day, yes, indeed.
It is hump day.
Happy today.
Yeah.
Have 2 cups of coffee and get ready to go home.
There you go. Well, looking at our weather, the rain and snow and everything else is still hanging around here, but not much of it today. Today we're looking at a high of 59 degrees. 31 will be the overnight low. Some showers around the area. Not much in the precip anyway that is going to amount to much of anything. And then Thursday is going to be pretty nice, 58 degrees and 38 the overnight low. It'll be partly cloudy most of the day, but no chance of precip. And then, oh man, Friday. I'm having my yard cleaned on Friday, Shane, from the from the 7-8 months of dogs being out there in snow.
Oh, it's got to be dangerous. It's a dangerous yard right now.
Well,
landmines everywhere.
There is almost a 100% chance of rain at between 1 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon when this extravaganza is supposed to take place. Half-inch of rain predicted. High of 49 on Friday. Excuse me, overnight low of 32. Saturday, we're looking at 54 degrees, 29, and showers will continue, but they'll dissipate during the day. And then Sunday, believe it or not, we've got rain, snow mix, 1 to 3 inches predicted, Shane. So
no.
We are not out of the woods yet. So I don't know. I this time of year, that's pretty much stick your neck out projection. 1 to 3 inches of snow, I doubt it. I don't know. But,
any snow.
Well, any snow, yeah. And that'll continue. Well, the temperatures are going down there, though. The 38 will be the high. Overnight low will be 21. And then on Monday, we've also got less than an inch of snow predicted. 38 will be the high, 26 the overnight low. And also into Tuesday, 39 and 27 respectively. 1 to 3 inches predicted there too.
Wow.
1 to 3 inches on Wednesday and less than an inch on Thursday of next week. So, well, I guess I'll believe it when I see it. I don't know.
Yeah. I always thought that, the big farm machines, that are enclosed, with air conditioning.
Oh, yeah, all the stuff, yeah.
I thought that was a request of prairie farmers, but I don't think so.
I think it's Montana wanted it, huh?
Wanted heaters. I need it enclosed with a heater.
Temperatures around the area right now, Livingston is 50 degrees, Manhattan's 47, Three Forks is 46 degrees. Gallatin Gateway is 47, Ennis is 45, Gardner is 42. Big Sky is 39 degrees, and at the airport in Belgrade right now it's 47 degrees, and we're at a nice balmy 50 right here in our downtown studio. So that's a pretty good look at, you're getting weather. This time of year we always get it. We get rain, we get snow, we get a mixture of stuff, we get cold, we get warm. The trees try and bud, and then they freeze, and then they bud again, and then they freeze again. It never ends. But hey, that's why we live here, right, Shane?
It's seasonal.
That's right, man. We like the seasons. Absolutely right. Well, all kinds of things on this day in history. The French are at it again, 1792. The French national anthem, La
Marseillaise.
All right, good for you. That's why he's here, folks. He's not just a pretty face.
1792, Claude Joseph Roget de Lisle
Yeah.
Wrote it in Strasbourg after the declaration of war by France against Austria.
Yeah.
The original name of the song was War Song for the Rhine Army. Interesting that they adopted it in 1795, the French National Convention, as the Republic's national anthem. And, of course, this was a time of absolute confusion in Europe because of what was going on in the French Revolution in England. And all the monarchies across Europe were panicking because they thought everyone would be beheaded after what was going on with the guillotine in Paris. Mm-hmm. And the first war of the first coalition was in 1792, and it was most powers of Europe against France, and they lost. And so the song was written. And I know I wouldn't normally do something like this, but for the benefit of the listeners, you need to listen. There's 16 lyrics to the song, and we all know the song. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here are the lyrics to the first. Oh my God! All right, arise, children of the fatherland. The day of glory has arrived. Against us, tyranny's blood standard is raised. Do you hear in the countryside the roar of those ferocious soldiers? They're coming right into your arms to cut the throats of your sons, your women. And it goes on from there. It doesn't get much better.
Cut the throats of your sons and women?
To arms, citizens, form your battalions. Let's march. Let's march. Let an impure blood water our furrows.
Wow.
And then, and then it goes. This one's good. What? Foreign cohorts would make the law in our homes? What? These mercenaries phalanxes would strike down our proud warriors? Great God, by chained hands, our brows would yield under the yoke. Vile despots would themselves become the masters of our destinies. Ah! You think the Canadian and the American national
I was going to say, we just like the bombs bursting in air, not cutting anybody's throat. But aren't the French famous for giving up? Aren't they famous for surrendering?
Yes, they're famous for picking the winning side.
Yeah, I was going to say,
and that means like in the middle of the war, like World War One, World War II, they'll change sides.
I was going to say, didn't they flip when the Americans started rolling into Paris? Yeah. Well, 1800, Congress approved a bill establishing the Library of Congress, the largest library in the world, I believe it is, or certainly in the top 5.
Oh, yeah, it's a remarkable, and it's not one building. There are 3 buildings in Washington, D.C. to house it. It's like the Smithsonian Institute. Mm-hmm. I think they're now up to 14 buildings. They have so much stuff. Mm-hmm. But anyway, the Library of Congress, it's one of the most remarkable in its content. I mean, it comes from all over the world. There are over 192 countries that provide information to it, 450 languages.
Wow.
And it was moved to Washington in 1800 after sitting for 11 years in the temporary nation's capital, New York and Philadelphia. So there you go. That's when the whole agenda shifted to Washington, D.C. and the swamp. It was the original collection was destroyed by the British in 1814 during the War of 1812. They burned it like most of Washington. Mm-hmm. So to restore it and start it over after the war, they bought Thomas Jefferson's entire personal collection of 6,487 books. How cool is that? Yeah. That's a big collection of books. I've got 20. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've got one. I haven't read it yet, but
38 million books, 3.6 million recordings, 14 million photographs, 5.5 million maps, 8.1 million pieces of sheet music, and 70 million manuscripts, 5,711 incubolas, and 122,810 items in non-classified special collections, more than 167 million items in the Library of Congress, while the budget's $684 million a year and a staff of 3,105.
3,000 people take care of the library?
Yeah. Well, it's a $684 million budget.
Well, I guess so, but come on, we're not using the Dewey.
Well, we got to go get a job.
We're not exactly using the Dewey Decimal System with the card file anymore. We're in computers, and where's the book on the War of 1812? Well, it'll be on the 18th floor in room 12. It'll be the first book.
3,105 people with a budget of $684 million.
Jeez, we're in the wrong business.
That's staggering. To me, that's like
I don't know, man.
That's like 20 million people, $20 million a person.
I know. That's what I'm thinking there. They must have what's a janitor make?
I have no idea, but I think I know where I want to apply to.
I think so, yeah. 1877 on this date, federal troops were ordered out of New Orleans, I guess I should say, or New Orleans.
New Orleans.
ending the Norse post-Civil War rule in the South. So finally got out of the South and went back to being a one country again.
Well, yeah, because after the North conquered the South, they appointed generals.
To
Johnson
rule
did.
Yeah,
Johnson did, but after Lincoln was shot, to rule the different states.
Yeah.
Until, because they were still under martial law. And this turned into a huge battle after Johnson when Grant became president, because we all know who General, Ulysses S. Grant was during the Civil War,
right.
The guy that, burned and terrorized everybody on the way to Atlanta because of his orders. But anyway, Reconstruction, this is the sad story of Reconstruction that led to so many things the Democrats did with Jim Crow laws. So the Republicans leave, but this is, like almost a decade after. And so a lot of people in the South were getting elected as Republicans, and African Americans were elected to state seats and members of Congress. And what happened is to win the election in 1872, Grant agreed that he'd pull the generals out and give them back their independence, basically. And they immediately picked up on the Democratic Party again to run all the states in the South. And then came the Jim Crow laws at the end of that century, and so forth and so on. And then
they had literacy tests, they had poll taxes, they had everything that blacks couldn't afford to do.
And it tried to ruin everything under Reconstruction for land grants and everything. Yeah, it was a very bad time.
Yeah, it was.
We should talk about it sometime, because it really has a major part of the the racial undertones that had existed up until I think 50 years ago in your country. But anyway, there you go. Next.
1898, Spain declared war on the United States after rejecting America's ultimatum to withdraw from Cuba.
Yes, and we talked about the Spanish-American War before, and the Mexican War. But the amazing thing about the Spanish-American War is, as a result of it, we got Puerto Rico.
Yes.
55% of Mexico and the Philippines.
There you go. Wow.
So first time America actually seized the land
and kept it.
And kept it.
Yeah.
It's the only time. Yeah. So when they tell you they never did.
Well, that's a lie.
That's a lie.
All right, 1915, the Ottoman Empire, and the last time the Cubs won the World Series, before the time they won it here recently, the Ottoman Empire didn't exist. So in 1915, the Ottoman Empire rounded up Armenian political and cultural leaders in Constantinople at the start of what many scholars regard as the first genocide of the 20th century, in which an estimated 1.5 million Armenians died in that get-together.
Yeah, it's a terrible loss. It's never been recognized, even by the UN, and they're still trying, because it's Albania they're talking about.
Right, yeah.
And 1.5 million Albanians on 24th April 1915. And the interesting thing is the Ottoman Empire, this great Sunni empire of the Middle East and Northern Africa, joined the Austrians and World War II and the Germans in World War I. And as a result of losing that war, of course, they were then broken up. And once again, land was divided up, as we've talked about, finalized in the Paris Treaty of 1922.
Right. Yeah, and that eventually, 1948, I think, Israel was established.
That's correct.
Somewhere in there. And
49 allowed into the United Nations are recognized by the U.S.
Yeah. Well, in this date, in 1916, the Easter Uprising began when some 1,600 Irish nationalists seized several key sites in Dublin. And that was back in the days of the start, I guess, of the Catholics and the Protestants going at it.
That's right.
Against each other.
And it was the Catholics that started the uprising. So There you go.
All right, we got to take a break. Hey, believe it or not, my board says Montana News in Agriculture is back. So Just because it's on the board doesn't mean it's really there. But
it's not just another pretty voice.
I got my fingers crossed. So ranchers, farmers, truck drivers, cab drivers, here's your Montana news in agriculture. Fingers crossed. 27 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. It's Wednesday, April 24, 2019, 49 degrees outside. Shane Matavin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. Tom Eagle off your morning mayor in the house. And you're listening to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And we're happy to have you along with us today, continuing on with our day in history. Today in 1962, on this date, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology achieved the first satellite relay of a television signal. So that changed the news around the world because we could get news beamed to satellite, and back to in a matter of moments, and we can watch.
Yes, it was a massive move in technology for the planet as well as for the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. Remarkable place. It was opened. It's a private institution, so it depends on its own funding. April 10th, 1861, 2 days before the Civil War. So classes were postponed until 1864. But to give you an idea of the content of the graduates of this institution, 93 Nobel laureates, 26 Turing Award winners, 8 fields medalists, 58 national medals of science, 29 national medals of technology and innovation, 50 MacArthur fellows, 73 Marshall scholars, 45 Rhodes scholars, 41 astronauts, and 16 chief scientists of the U.S. Air Force. Wow. They have put out some big guys. Companies founded by MIT alumni valued at $1.9 trillion today.
Wow.
And would rank roughly as the 10th largest economy in the world. So, you have MIT on your side, you're
set.
Oh, and our favorite number, guess the size of the endowment, $16.4 billion. That's a big billion.
But college isn't free there, is it? So
no,
that's right. We're hanging on to that 16 bill.
11,500 students, 4,000 undergraduates, and 6,900 postgraduates. Largest percentage of postgraduates any university in the United States.
All right, we got to go. All right, this is coming up at the bottom of the hour. Looks like Montana State News might be back, too. Holy smokes. It's like Christmas morning. I'm excited. Well, we'll see if they all play. We'll be back with more with Shane and I following the news. Montana State News. No Fox News. We're not going to repeat that one news, but hey, we've got weather. We've got other stuff, so stay tuned. All right, 24 minutes for the top of the hour. It is Wednesday, April 24, 2019, 49 degrees. And we got some text coming in, Shane, that we need to deal with here. Let's see. Hey, just wondering if you know what's going on with the Boise, Montana, and John Arneson. They've had some gal on the last 2 nights, but she says nothing about John. Just curious. I don't know. That comes out of Billings or Missoula or somewhere. I think it comes out of Billings. So I'm not privy to what they're doing, and particularly with all the problems that we've had around the with our broadcasts and everything. I have no clue. John Arneson's been there forever. I know there's been a lot of people that have left Northern Broadcasting. Rocky Erickson's not there. Russell Nimmott's not there. So, I mean, there's been some names that you're familiar with that have kind of gone away.
Moved on.
Yeah, moved on, or were shown the door. One of the two, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. They can get XL on the app, but not us. Well, we may still be having some streaming issues with our app. I apologize for that, but that's kind of out of my hands. That's an engineering and IT folks. So I will certainly pass that on to them and make sure that they know that we're not texting or not texting, but we're not. Obviously, our texting is working because we got 2. So, hey, also don't forget, as long as you're texting, you can go to our app. If you can't hear us on the app, you can go to it anyway. And next to listen, there's a message button, and you can send us messages that way as well. Might be easier than texting, putting in a phone number and all the other things. So, and that will get over to us as well. So try our new messaging item over there on our AM 1450 KMMS app, and sign up for the app if you don't already have it. And hopefully we'll get the streaming situation taken care of someday. So, I don't know. It's very frustrating for us sitting here, that we have fans and people that want to have an interest in what we're talking about, and they can't listen, and that's not good for us. It doesn't help our station at all. And, it isn't that we're not trying to do anything about it, but we are trying to do the best we can with what we've got to work with. So that's kind of where we are.
And if you miss a show, you can always go to the home site and download any show that you have missed in recent history.
That's true. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep. Go to KMMSAM.com and just click on Tom and Shane podcast, and it'll click a link over there, and it'll take you directly to all of our past shows are over there. So you'll enjoy that, I'm sure. We're up to 131 shows, 691 downloads, Shane. 691 downloads. Have 4 people downloaded yesterday's show, 5 the day before, 3 the day before that, 4 the day before that, and 3. And we've been up to 11, 15, some shows, depending on who's on and what we're talking about. So
that's very good.
That's a big deal, yeah. And our Facebook page, too. Don't forget to like our Facebook page, because we've gone well over 1,000 now. We're closing in on 1,100 likes on our Facebook page from the 700 where we were when I started. So we appreciate all of you out there who liked our Facebook page. And a lot of great information over there on our Facebook page. It has our poll question of the day. Have you had an out-of-body experience or not? So you can go over and vote in that one and check out. We also post a link to our past shows on KMMSAM.com, or the Facebook page, I should say. And a lot of our stories are over there as well. So go over and check it out. Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/KMMSAM. Don't forget the AM, KMMSAM.
Okay, now enough selling. All right, here we go.
Wait.
Wait. Okay, I got
Hold it. I got to get my contract out and see when I became.
All right.
What do you got? Okay.
Hypothetically, I'm qualifying it twice.
Yeah.
If you have an out-of-body experience,
yes,
where would you go?
Bozeman, Montana. I hear it's really nice.
What a weak answer. I'd go to a star. I'd want to go to a star.
Oh, would you? Yeah. Aren't they hot? Aren't they hot?
Yeah. I just want to go check out another solar system.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully I'd get back.
You want to see if there's intelligent life on other planets.
Yeah. I'd have to be able to move faster than the speed of light, right?
Well, yeah.
I'm out of my body, so.
Well, yeah. You can do whatever you want to do. You could probably go faster than that. You You just watch the wormholes, because you wouldn't get back.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get sucked away.
You just be sitting there. I'd be talking to this face sitting there.
Yeah, like, where am I? I mean, how did I end up here? It's awfully dark.
Sometimes I wonder if you're out of body.
Hey, now be nice. Just okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
All right, the longest Iranian hostage, or longest hostage taking situation. We've talked about this, and it's important for a couple of reasons. Walter Cronkite, number one. Right?
Yeah.
It was 444 days, started on November 4th, 1979, ended January 20th, 1981. Yeah. But on the day that the great Reagan took the oath of office, 2 hours before, I think, they left Iranian airspace. But it just was Walter Cronkite, and again, how he had, because, when you look back, and you'd know this from the Vietnam War, the whole attitude about the Vietnam War changed because of his personal visits to Vietnam, right? And he did those shows live in Vietnam, and the guy was amazing.
Which guy are you talking about? Reagan?
Walter Cronkite.
Oh, Walter Cronkite.
He's the one who started the Today is the 356th
Oh, well.
day of the Iranian hostage.
Actually, I think that was Nightline, wasn't it? Ted Koppel?
No, it's Walter Cronkite. I'll look it up, but I'm pretty sure.
I think Ted Koppel started Nightline, and that's where it came from. And every night they would report on
that's right. See,
every night they would report it. Now, Walter may have done it too, but But I never saw Walter in Vietnam or Ted Koppel, either one.
Well, and a lot of people to this day believe that the Iranians gave up the hostages on the inauguration day of Reagan because of the threats he'd made to them if they hadn't released them.
Yeah, well, that's what I was. We've said that all along, that they were, and the media is. We need to thank the media for that, for talking about he was senile. He'll push the button at the drop of a hat, and he'll push it without knowing it. He'll think he's ordering breakfast, and he'll hit the red button, and Rand will be toast. Yeah. Well,
that was I remember the big joke during that entire presidential campaign was, what's flat, black, and radioactive 2 days after Reagan takes the presidency?
Yeah.
Tehran.
Okay.
Yeah. So everybody thought that, and he turned out to be a pretty aggressive military, commander in chief. He did have a couple of things that he dealt with.
Yeah, from our text line again, 478-8298. Commercials only are playing, I guess, on our app, and I apologize for that. Unless, of course, the texter is saying, shut up, Tom and Shane, we just soon listen to commercials only rather than you two.
Well, I tell them to change the channel.
I don't know about that. So. No, I think we just got commercials at the top and bottom of the hour on the streaming. So I will text our engineer and or I already did during that break anyway, and let them know. So. I don't know what, I have no idea what's involved in all that, so I'd like to help, but I'm pretty useless when it comes to that stuff. No. I got to run my own boat here.
Yeah, that's right. We know you have technical prowess. We know you do. Come on.
Well, that requires some going into computers and looking at stuff, and I don't know. So anyway.
Okay.
So, Montana and Iowa thinking about legalizing sports betting. What do you think, Shane? Number of states allowing sports betting poised to expand. Governors in Montana and Iowa are considering measures that would allow residents to wager on sports, while Indiana lawmakers are scheduled to approve their own version as early as Wednesday. So, bearing a veto, they would be the first states to approve sports betting this year, joining 6 others that moved quickly last year after the Supreme Court allowed it nationwide. And we're bringing what's in the black market out in the open. Montana Senator Mark Blaisdell, a Republican, told the Associated Press on Tuesday. So the legalization of sports gambling has been as widespread as initially predicted after the court ruling ended Nevada's virtual monopoly on that. So, well, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about gambling and period, because I think a lot of people get addicted to it and, lose a lot of money and whatever. But I think if you want to put $5 on a sports team and, whatever.
Well, it's like, people go to Vegas, and they take, and they're going to lose, say, $500. That's their budget, right?
Yeah.
Everybody goes to the Keno room to see what it looks like, and then they go to a card room to see, and then they go to the sports bar, and it's amazing how big they are, right?
Oh yeah, they got huge TV screens everywhere, and they got horse racing, they got they got curling, they got every sport you can think of.
The longest line at the counter is NFL ticket, NFL to pick a winner for the NFL Super Bowl, right? Because you can win pretty good bucks on it. And,
there's big odds on that, sports gambling. I think that's one reason that the NFL is probably the only sport that has an injury report.
Of course, and it's relative.
Baseball does too, but I mean,
but not to
not to the extent that NFL does. So
and most people, unless you've been hit by a ball or a bat, most of the injuries in baseball are dealing with the pitchers, right, in their arms.
Yeah.
Conditions.
So, yeah.
But I think that it's one of these issues that I think is fine because you want to get it out of the darkness.
Yeah.
I don't think people should have their legs broken.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think people should be allowed.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't. Yeah. So you go down to the Rock and Robin or whatever, and Rock and R Bar, I should say, and what? Yeah, you don't pay up. What's going to happen to you?
Well, that's right. I mean, if you can't afford to bet, you shouldn't be.
You shouldn't be betting. Yeah, there you are. We got to take a break. We'll be right back with more right after this. 7 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Wednesday, April 24th, 2019, 49 degrees outside. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house. Shaman Tobin, half man, half amazing, on the line with me. And this is KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And, well, Bozeman High juniors had the highest average score on the ACT college entrance test among the state's largest 14 AA school districts, Shane. We're doing pretty well here, I guess. We've always had a pretty strong school system, I think. But, as we've said many times, we seem to be reduced to these standardized tests rather than teaching kids the things they need to know to get by in life. So, I don't know. There's a
100-year tradition of rural America education, right? It's never been like the urban education that occurred, in your country in the last 150 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you pull up an old school test from 1930, half the people probably couldn't pass it.
That's right, exactly.
We used to teach stuff, and why things happened, and why wars happened, why businesses failed, why the Industrial Revolution happened, why the Great Depression happened. And, we used to learn about the presidents and all of that, and I don't think any of that's taught anymore.
That's right. And a lot of memorization.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Particularly, and mathematics, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Mm-hmm. I remember every year having a book list when I had class, from first grade all the way till I was a senior and graduated. I had a book list that I had to read every year. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to you had to do book reports on.
And I don't remember the guest that mentioned it, but a lot of professors will say to you, "What are you doing listening to me? All you have to do is read these books."
Right.
Why are you here at college?
Why are you here at college? Read a book. That's all you got to do. It's all. What do you think? What do you think you'd have spent $500 on? Books.
Exactly.
I'm telling you what's in them. And
that's all it's doing.
Why am I here?
Yeah.
All right, we ran a little long on that first segment, so we got to take another quick break. We'll be right back. 1 minute, 16 seconds before the top of the hour. We call that pretty close, didn't we, Shane? So
you can go back and do the weather in 1 minute.
Yeah, you can. All right. Yeah, we pulled that one pretty close. We went a little long on that first segment, and the salespeople have been out selling stuff. So we got some commercials, but unfortunately, that's all the streaming people are hearing at the moment, it seems like. So anyway. Let's hope they can get that resolved quickly and get us back on the air streaming. If you streaming is your way to get us, you can also listen to our past shows. We usually have them up at least by noon the day of the show. So by all means, check it out at kmmsam.com. Just click on Tom and Shane's podcast, and they'll click a link. It'll take you over to them. And you can pick the show that you want to listen to or part of it or whatever. We'll be back right after the news. Thank you, Dan. Welcome, everyone. 6 minutes after the hour. It's Wednesday, April 24, 2019, 49 degrees outside. Shaman Tobin on the line with me from Vancouver.
Vancouver?
Somewhere, saying Vancouver, yeah. Yeah, it's where the vacuum cleaners are made.
Bollywood, baby. North Bollywood.
That's right. Hey, I'm glad to have Montana News back in there. It gives me time to walk down the hall.
That's right.
I know. Before it was kind of a speed race down there. So just a warning, the break at around 15 or 17, Noxatril will be there. So, if you got kids and don't want to You don't want questions about what does Dad have a problem?
Exactly.
What, So
is that what I hear you arguing about, Mom?
yeah, right. From our text line, morning, Tom, missing you and Shane on streaming this morning. The local ads and national news are there, but you are not. Mr. Lonely in Ennis. Sorry.
I can't get anything on the streaming line for the dates.
On the computer, yeah.
Yeah, nothing.
Well, I texted the engineer, I texted the GM, so they should be on top of it, I hope. So I'm not sure how the streaming works. I know we've got Radio Pup, we've got our own streaming app, obviously, AM 1450 KMMS, if you want to go over and add that to your phone.
Yes, indeed.
It's a good idea because there's other stuff there. You know, our regular app works. All the news is there and the weather and all the other things that we put up there. It's not just
lots of real news.
Lots of real news, yeah, and local and national, international. We have it all there, so go over and check it out. I'm not sure if Mike McCormick is here at 8 o'clock or not. I think he told me he might not be here, but we'll see if he is. If not, Shane and I will rock and roll anyway with you guys, and we got plenty to talk about if Mike doesn't show up. So
that's true.
But hopefully he'll be here because the markets just set records yesterday.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So I don't know, boy. The Democrats are going, impeach, impeach. Wait, whoa, my 401k is kind of going up pretty dramatically here. Wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the deal?
Yeah. How do you explain that one? So a Chick-fil-A, now, is there a Chick-fil-A in Bozeman?
Not in Bozeman. I think there's one in, there's only one in Montana that I'm aware of.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Yeah. But that was one of the things. Tim Fox sent a letter to the CEO and told them that, hey, we're open for business here in Montana, even though king is beef, or beef is king, rather. Either way.
Either way,
beef is king, yeah. We would love to have you come here because we don't discriminate against people for their religious views. And, of course, Twitter opened up with a lot of hatred for religious views. So there you are. Let's take
Chick-fil-A. Oh, go ahead. They hung up, I think.
Go ahead. Caller, you there? All right. Nope. Not there. Okay.
Yeah. So Chick-fil-A, interesting story. Truett Cathy is the owner and CEO of a private company. He's a very devout Southern Baptist. All Chick-fil-A restaurants are closed on Sundays, as well as Thanksgiving and Christmas. They have 2,200 locations in Canada, the United States. This is good. They started 72 years ago. In 1946, are you ready for this? The Dwarf House.
Wow.
In 1967, they changed the name 52 years ago to Chick-fil-A. I wonder why.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, their headquarters is College Park, Georgia, and, over 25,000 employees, and revenues estimated of over $10 billion a year. The first problem they had was with the Obama Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, paying for contraceptives, yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't want to, and he took it all the way. The Supreme Court paid for it and won.
Yeah.
And that didn't go over well with the Obama administration. And then the left tried to mark them for their religious beliefs, and my gosh, the lineups outside went out the door and around the block, and
it's probably the best thing that ever happened to them was having the left against them. So
exactly. So now they're back in the news again because of his religious beliefs and the left wanting to do it. And I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Once again, let's shoot ourselves in the foot and see what happens.
You don't have to show your religious card at the door when you come in. They serve everybody. They don't discriminate on customers or anything like that, or employees either way. But oh my gosh, because you won't buy birth control pills for your employees, you're somehow you're, I don't know, second-class citizen. But
yeah, and Obama and Clinton shared talking points over the weekend, and both posted referring to the people killed in Sri Lanka as Easter parishioners or something.
Easter worshipers.
Easter worshipers. I mean, wow.
Yeah, I know, that's pretty scary. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, thanks for waiting. You're on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's going on?
Hey, guys, it's Harry. How you doing?
Harry, how are you, man?
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah, I'm still alive and kicking. Hey, I got a quick question for Shane. I was reading something on a news site last night. What's going on this Duarte in the Philippines? He says he's going to declare war on Canada tomorrow. Are you guys all ready for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, Duarte's had Canadian garbage in holders for 6 years, Harry, I think.
yeah, no,
Just come and get your garbage.
But I'm concerned because you guys don't have a militia.
Yeah.
Because they don't trust you folks up there with guns, and Vancouver's right there on the coast. Unless the Philippines is going to come around and attack through Nova Scotia.
I don't think they're going to go through the Panama Canal to get here.
Yeah.
Is this going to be like the Falklands, where they take like 6 weeks to get there?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll attempt to take, one of the largest islands in the world, the Vancouver Island, of course.
Yeah.
Of course they would. Yeah, right.
I'm not that worried about Quebec because they already got the white flags out.
Yeah.
They're ready to surrender. They speak French. Anyway, I hope the war goes well or it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Take the damn garbage back.
Well, they'll put Shane back in as a general,
Of course, yeah. I mean, the first general from the Canadian Armed Forces in World War I was a real estate developer from Vancouver.
Yeah.
Well, you Canadians you got a tough army. You've proved that in several wars, but
yeah.
I hope you can maybe wheel out Henry Kissinger or something and solve this. Anyway, good luck, and give peace a chance.
All right. Thanks, Harry. Good to hear from you, man.
Bye.
So what Harry's referencing is that there's been dozens of shipping containers in the port of Manila for 6 years, and that came from Canada, and they were sent there for a company to process it. Like it was cheaper than China, right?
Mm-hmm.
Company went bankrupt, and now he wants the Canadians to take back the containers of garbage. That's what he espoused. So I don't know. What are you gonna do?
Well,
Let's send.
I'm wondering why Canada's. I see them sitting around the table, with with Trudeau sitting there and all the heads, and they said, Hey Trudeau, what are we going to do with this garbage? Well, let's send it to Dubai.
Yeah, right. Let's send it. Yeah.
Okay, we'll get a bunch of containers and fill it up with garbage, and we'll send it over to Dubai, and they can dispose of it somehow or other.
Yeah, but people don't talk about garbage a lot. I mean, China makes a huge amount of money because they take global cardboard from everyone because of their shipments. Yeah. And people put them in these containers and ship it to China. And of course, because of the trade war with the United States, they won't buy cardboard from the U.S. Right. But having said that, they're buying it from everyone else. I mean, there's a lot of value in garbage, but not if you just leave it somewhere.
Yeah. Well, that's certainly the case. So
there you go. That's the story, folks.
All right, we got to take a quick break here, and then we'll get to the 5 things you need to know. Well, we'll see. We may get to prisoners voting. That may be a topic we need to talk about too. So, but anyway, we'll be right back, and this is a Noxitril warning. It's the first commercial for 1 minute. So if you want to, if you got kids in the car, or if you're on your way somewhere with the kiddies and don't want the questions about Dad.
That's right.
Just turn it down and talk about school or something else. We'll be right back. 19 minutes after the hour. It's Wednesday, April 24, 2019, 49 degrees outside. Shane Matavin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house, and you're on the KMMS Morning Soapbox. Our poll question of the day, have you had an out-of-body experience? We have a tie between yes, it was fun at 33%. No, but I hear it's fun was 33%. And then the other two answers, if I left my body, I probably wouldn't come back. 16% like that. And I have no idea what an out-of-body experience is also 16%. So it's early in the voting yet, so get over to KMMSAM.com and vote in our poll question. So let's see from our text line. I'm wondering why KMMS can't get local advertisers. So tired of the bad commercials we have to hear. Please help. Well, we do have some in there, but Noxitril certainly not one of them. But also from the text line, this station needs some serious help, like some tech help that knows what the heck they're doing. As if we'll keep listening when you're so screwed up. Well, that's my issue. That's my concern, that you will leave if we don't get this stuff all straightened out. And we certainly need to do it. And we're as frustrated as you are out there, because we don't like not streaming. We don't like not being on the our phone app and all of that. We want we need as many listeners as we can get and all of that. And we promote advertising on our streaming and our smartphone too. So we've got to do something for those people. So yeah, it's not a pleasant thing for us either.
No, so, the designation is clear. The CIO. It came around in the 1990s because of the computer revolution that was happening, and Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operating Officer, and Chief Information Officer, right, the CIO. Yeah. So, someone needs to talk to the CIO, because it's not a small company, so I'm sure they have one.
I know, yeah. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
This is Clint.
Hey.
Hi, Shane.
Hello, good sir. How are you today?
Well, I'm here. I'm really an opinionated fellow. I really.
You're kidding me?
No, I'm kidding you. And yeah, I am, and I'm a little at fault for being that way. But I got to ask you two guys two questions.
All right.
Now, you're both very smart, and I want you to tell me whether I'm right or wrong.
Okay.
Two questions. The Fourth Amendment says that you're to be secure in your persons and your papers.
Yes,
the question is this: how can the Congress ask our president for his taxes? That's number one question. And number two question is this: where in the federal Constitution does it say you cannot own a weapon?
Like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the reason, what I'm trying to get at is it doesn't seem like our Constitution means much anymore. They circumvent it in any possible way they can, and I want you guys' opinion.
Well, they call it a living document, and it's not.
It's not.
It's not a living document. It's not fluid. It's we have a Supreme Court that interprets it, not always correctly, as some of us have found out with Affordable Care Act and some
Roberts really did a bad job.
Yeah, with Citizens United and some of the other things that they passed. Mm-hmm. So but
how guys like me that studied this stuff for years and years have talked about it on your radio program and on Aaron Flynn's and John Arneson's. When are the American people going to wake up and see what the Congress is doing? We shouldn't be paying them for trying to sue our president, and we should be paying them for the work that they do for the people. Now, the work they're trying to do with the Mueller report, in my opinion, is wrong. It's absolutely wrong. We paid, $30 million, Tom?
Something like that. Pretty close, yeah.
Okay.
35
million, Shane?
Yeah, the Mueller report and the House committees that spent money, so it's both, right?
Well, what could we have done with that to help some of the states with their poor people and stuff? What is why do they do these things?
For votes.
If
for power.
If that's
votes and power,
case,
votes and power. That's it. Yeah, there's no statesman anymore, Clint. You know that.
I know that. Well, if anybody's ever read the documents, the letters and stuff from the founding fathers about our government and how they formed it, what they said, it's like Franklin said, we have given you a Republican form of government. And the democracy comes in by the people that vote and keep this Republican form of government alive.
Well, there's two things. There's 240 eligible voters in your country.
Yeah.
And less than 130 million vote.
Yeah.
So the thing about this that's so scary is whoever gets elected president, we'll just take the presidency, for example. And this big thing about the Democrats saying, oh, we got more votes, that doesn't matter because it's less than even a plurality that votes for your president, meaning of 240 million people, he gets 60 million votes or 65 million votes. It's like 35-40%, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you've got 62% of the people that vote. And so less
don't
than
vote.
Or, no, 62% do vote, but like 40% don't or close to. And so the winner is vote elected by less than 40% of the people that are eligible to vote. That's scary. That's not a democracy.
I know it. Well, here's what scares me. I think, my personal self, that they're not. I blame it on education, and I don't think the educators, a lot of them, are teaching our true history of what founded this country, and they're not teaching some of the documents. Like the Articles of Confederation. They're not talking about that. They're not talking about our Constitution and why it was formed and who was and how many people was killed that signed various different documents.
Like the Declaration, 64 people signed it.
I think education is is the reason we're in the mess we're in, and we're going to have to turn it around, but I don't know how.
Well, quite honestly, Clint, I thought we turned it around when we elected Trump, but in the midterms, the Republicans just went back and sat on their hands and didn't continue the, it's like Bush not going to, Iran.
Well, what the hell are we going to do?
Yeah.
Tom, Shane, what are we going to do? We got to do something. I don't know how other people feel out there, but I see them circumventing our Constitution, putting it daily.
Yeah.
And I don't like it.
Well, that's very true. As far as the Democrats, I mean, they're going after Trump with anything they can, and we've said on this program a long time ago. I think they're wasting their time because they can't get anything done because everybody's going to be out, campaigning.
Yeah,
they're not going to be able to vote on anything to bother Trump. And if you want to beat him at the ballot box in 2020, go out and make your case.
That's right. But the thing is we're allowing.
Oh yeah, we're sitting back because these are the people that we put in there, and
we're paying them.
Yeah, and the people who are on the anti-Trumpers are cheering loudly, and the the other folks on the other side, the pro-Trumpers, are saying, "Hey, come on."
Well, we've got to do something. I personally feel like our Constitution is going down the tube, and they keep circumventing it.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that's fascinating, and Montanans understand this better than anyone, like Texans, and that is, you have a government, a state government, that is a natural government, meaning they meet every 2 years.
Yeah.
And the original Constitution was for the federal government to meet on a regular basis, but not continually.
Yeah,
that's right.
So under the provisions of the Section 2 under the executive branch, the President of the United States, like governors, could call the House or the Senate back to, session.
That's right.
To consider legislation. So it was a citizens' legislature. That was the whole concept. But now you have the federal government and you have state governments like California that sit all the time. And what they do is they waste money getting paid and running committees and investigating and doing things they shouldn't be doing, right?
If we stop and think about it, Shane and Tom, the biggest culprit in this whole thing is money.
Yep.
And when they allowed money to be free speech, that did it.
There you go. Got to go, Clint. Thanks. All right, we'll be back. Still got a half hour to go here in this segment anyway, and we'll get to the 5 things you need to know, I hope, sometime here. So hang on. We'll be right back after the news. 24 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Wednesday, April 24, 2019, 49 degrees outside, and Shane Tobin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. Tom Eaglehoff, your morning mayor in the house. And, well, we had a question earlier about our Constitution. Let's go to our text line at 478-8298. Let's see. I would say the Constitution is a living document as it was designed to be and can be amended. And I guess that's probably true. It can be amended. So
that's right.
Yeah, I would say that was accurate. Yes, the Mueller investigation is costly, but the millions seized from Manafort are on track to break even. plus 5 crooks in jail and 34 indicted, winning. Well, the 34 indicted are in Russia. I don't think they're going to be coming to America anytime soon, or at least several of them are anyway. Let's see. Also from our text line, let's pretend we have President Warren Buffett and he refused to show his taxes. Wouldn't you be curious, or would you say it's none of our business? I would say it's none of our business.
I think it's none of your business.
Yeah. Let's see. Regarding our streaming situation, listen to that Chris guy in the Butte station. So we'd appreciate if you don't do that. But
we should qualify that comment about the Buffett guy, because as a public company, he has to divulge all of his holdings in the company. So it is public knowledge. It's transparent. I just want to say that.
Yeah, that would be true. So, all right, let's see. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Hey, this is Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Hey, the Constitution is not a living document. It's a contract between the states. And, when you say it can be amended, it can also be annulled. We have the ability to just disregard it and, breach a contract, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. The federal government has a responsibility to adhere to the Constitution. And, just because the majority of the states want to change that. The reason we had the Civil War, it was necessary to have the first Civil War between the states because it solidified the country as a nation. But if we, the second Civil War, it won't have to be over, with guns. I think that the federal government would look pretty tyrannical on the world stage if it took up arms. So it's not really a living document. They have that responsibility to the state. And just because the majority of the states. What's that?
You were fading.
Yeah, you were fading out a little bit there.
Oh, right on. But that's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Very cool.
All right. Yeah. Well, yeah, we talk about the Constitution. It's kind of been in place for a long time. And, you go all the way back to the Dred Scott decision, which, the Supreme Court said people are property. Does that fly in the, would that fly today? I don't think so. But, a lot of the decisions we make, and, from some standpoint, you could say, well, the Supreme Court determines whether something is constitutional or not constitutional, that it's protected.
That's correct.
Yeah. The person bringing the action is either protected or they're not.
That's right. It's like, if you go back before Constitutional Convention, and the thought of it in the 1700s, 1400s, 1500s, 1600s, you have to go back to the Bibles, the Quran, with its specific laws, Sharia law, and even the Old Testament, the Hasidic, laws in the Torah,
right,
of how to live, and they were explicit, what you could and couldn't do, and how you could, even what you could eat and couldn't eat. It's the same with the Quran. So it's a developed concept of law. British law is obviously the one that's sort of initiated the graphic of our Constitution, and it isn't a living thing, but it's an amendable thing.
Right,
and that's what makes it special of all of its things.
We've always been a self-correcting nation. We corrected slavery, we corrected the women's right to vote, we corrected, depending on your point of view, marriage, but
income
whatever.
tax.
Yeah, income tax, whatever. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Well, good morning.
Hey, Pete, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I had the only out-of-body experience I ever had was when I was on Noxatril.
Oh, yeah. That's...
Yeah. Other than that, I ain't had any.
Yeah.
But we had the government. Our government is made up of 3 branches.
Yep.
Okay, executive, legislative, and judicial. And it is a contract. Okay? So if the judicial branch of government is a branch of the government, okay, they have a vested interest in what where the power lies, so to speak. So why would we sign on to a contract and then let one party decide what the contract says, and it's not our party?
Yeah, we have checks and balances.
That's right. But the progressive left wants to, we've talked about this, the right of the rule of the majority and the rights of the minority. And the progressive left, because they can't get this rule of the majority right because of the, your college, your electoral college, it drives them wacky. But the other thing is that they've gone left to the point where they want the legislative branch to protect the minority, but to the extreme. So that's where you're at. That's how you're caught, and it's a political policy. It's not a government one.
Well, what the left does is they use the courts to legislate. That's
to protect the minorities. That's their argument.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. How many victims groups can we protect?
That's right.
Well, let's stop victims.
Well, no, we can't. We have to have victims. Come on. Nobody's going to get behind the rich. It's the poor that are victims. It's the black that are victims. It's
Well, here's another thing.
And you got to know, Pete, that there's a hidden comment behind the mayor's statement there because, he's the one who's brilliantly come up with the comment that now that Trump is a victim, the left can't go after him because the left's whole argument with racism and everything is minorities. They got to be protected, right? Yeah. We're a big tent of minorities.
I guess I would have more faith in the courts if over 200 times the later courts have overruled previous courts in their decisions. So they're not infallible, apparently.
No. Look at the Ninth Circuit, overturned 85% of the time. Wouldn't somebody knock on their door and say, "Hey, guys"?
I'm talking about the Supreme Court.
Well, that too.
But and another thing, the last thing I'll say is this: if you read the founders, they didn't create a nation; they created a union of states.
Right.
Okay. Internationally, the only way our government can act is in foreign affairs. And
wars and things like that, yeah.
Right, right. But they were never supposed to touch the people. The federal government was not supposed to touch the people at all.
Yeah.
It was, the entire document is a negative on the federal government with a few negatives on the states and many rights for the states and the people. We sit at the top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
We're not at the bottom. We're at the top. And the federal government is at the bottom.
The biggest problem you have right now is that one of two major parties started with the moral basis of slavery, and now they're trying to dictate morals today about birth and so many other things.
I know, man.
And
they want to bring segregation. The left wants to bring segregation back. See what's going on. So what was the point? What was the point of going through all of that? In a civil war and a whole 9 yards, and now they want to go back to where they were?
Yeah. I got to go, Pete. I'm sorry.
Yep, no
right,
problem.
Man. Thanks a lot. Thanks
Later.
for the call. All right, take care. All right, it is 10 minutes for the top of the hour. We've had a caller waiting on the line. So, caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
You know, so you have all these Democrats talking about no one is above the law. Well, I agree. No one should be above the law. Although one thing that's so irritating is that they're implying President Trump is trying to live above the law, trying to get away with something. So that's just so irritating because, you know, what the implication is. And like, right, no one's above the law. What about Hillary? So you got Elizabeth Warren and Cory Booker and Kamala Harris and others still trying to pursue impeachment. And what grounds? They, you know, Kellyanne Conway made the comment the other day, what they're doing to President Trump is like a political colonoscopy. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I mean...
But I can only tell you what I know from what people have told me.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking at him with such scrutiny every which way and, you know, inside and out, and they still haven't found anything just because they don't like him. Yep. And they don't like his policies, I suppose.
Well, that's why I say that this makes him a victim in the eyes of the people because, you know, Mueller was the gold star of investigations. I mean, if anybody could find anything on Trump, it was this guy. You know, I mean, that's what they said for 2 years. Mueller's going to get the info and, you know, we'll be done with this. You know, we'll be done with this. And,
right. So, but now they're complaining, though, because they got a redacted version of the report. So what if they get the full report and they still find nothing?
Well,
you know,
I think if there was something, there'd be a recommendation by Mueller to Barr to do something.
Right. And, you know, and this thing of no one above the law, you have Hillary, who destroyed evidence, destroyed emails, lost BlackBerries, a Steele dossier. Right in front of them, they have someone that if they looked at with the same scrutiny as they looked at with President Trump, how many different charges could be brought against her?
Yeah, that's...
Well, that's why they keep carrying this water. No, but that's why they keep carrying the water.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks for the call. I got to go again. I got to take another quick break. And thanks for your input. We appreciate it.
But remember, no one's above the law.
Amen. Not even Shane. Not even Shane.
Except for Hillary.
That's true. All right. Thanks for the call. We'll be right back. All right, and the aforementioned Mike McCormick is in the house with us, and Shane and Tobin on the line from Vancouver, British Columbia, and, well, we've got phones ringing, so I don't know if it's about something else or whether they want to talk to Mike right off the bat.
Let's go.
We'll find out.
Good morning.
522-TALK is the number. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
Good morning, Tom and Shane. This is Steve.
Hey, Steve.
You know, Clint brought up a really good subject, and it's something that we all need to learn about and what's been going on in this country. But can you tell me why we had the Revolutionary War?
Well, I think we wanted to be free from those English people.
Taxation without representation is what I learned.
That too.
Well, actually, you're right in a way because the king wanted feudal duties in America. Mm-hmm. And we said, no, we're going to own our land in America. And it was called an allodium. And you can hardly find it in a dictionary today because we don't own our land in allodium anymore in America because we all went to sleep. Another thing that was in the Constitution that's very important, Article 1, Section 9, Article 1, Section 10, the founders were so adamant about it, they even had the 13th Amendment, which said the same thing, which says no titles of nobility shall issue, meaning no bar attorneys in America. They could not be here. We were under the common law, capital C, capital L.
Yeah. Steve, I got to go. We're up against the clock at the top of the hour.
That always happens, Tom.
I know. You called too late.
All right.
All right. Thanks, man. We'll be right back with Mike McCormick right after this. All right, welcome back, everyone. I got a little confused on that last break. I thought we were at the top of the hour, and we weren't. So I played Mike's intro and played.
Hey, time is relative.
Played the boys.
We're here now.
Yeah, so I apologize for that. But yeah, we're at the mercy of the clock here. So Mike McCormick, McCormick Financial Services joins me. Shaman Taubman on the line in Vancouver, British Columbia, ready to hop in at any time. And Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor, and you're on the KMMS Morning Soapbox, so hold on tight. It's a tall soapbox, as you well know.
It's slippery.
And
sometimes bubbly.
Got the velvet ropes and all the stuff.
Yes, put me on a pedestal. Well, great to be here. It's Wednesday. It is springtime. We are having earnings coming out.
Yep.
And so if you're paying attention to financial news, the earnings are coming out. And it's one of those things, it's like a good mother. She sets your expectations low. She always wants to couch the downside. My mom was good at this. Honey, it'll be okay when you fail or when you don't get this. We'll be here. Right. And then you come in with some margin of success. And then you get to celebrate, because you're above expectations. And we've been winding earnings expectations down ever since mid last year. And the idea of 4% GDP growth, I think we've talked about, is that's pretty artificial, unless we had tremendous contribution from technology productivity, population growth, where we had a large labor force coming in and kicking. So really, GDP growth of anything close to 3 is pretty good for us. And that's where we're looking at coming in for this first quarter, the way the numbers are looking. And earnings from companies are mostly looking pretty good. There's surprises. You get these big stock moves. We had a big Twitter move of 15% or something off of some earnings. And so it's hard to play those. The rule is you buy the rumor, sell the news sort of thing. So when there's a rumor that there might be earnings, go on the stock moves. And then if it surprises either way, everybody, it can be, it can. And then there's top line, bottom line. There's all this metrics. As a blend of things right now, we are back to new highs in the stock market. We're back to above the September highs that we had. And you remember when we hit these September highs last time, people said, hey, this is too much.
Yeah.
We're not worth this much.
Going pretty fast. And we felt a lot of things were overvalued.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we had the Fed come in and say, hey, we're going to raise rates. And we're like, whoa, okay. So
that was dumb.
My analogy is always the fraternity party.
Yeah.
The boys are going out to get the extra keg of beer, but then the parents come and stop in and say, hey, what's going on here? That was sort of the problem we ran into last fall. Now we're sort of feeling like maybe we can get away with it again. Mm-hmm. And time heals. Over time, things go up. Over time, inflation goes up. Over time, population growth creates more demand. Economy returns go up. So this might be sustainable. If you're listening to the talk, people are saying, well, we're back to where new highs. It's time to start hedging. I'm having a lot of those same talks with clients. Mm-hmm. And those same talks with clients go the same way. If we sell out now or become more conservative, whatever your flavor is, we're probably wrong. Right? It's not today. It might be a week from now. It might be a month from now. It might have been yesterday. Now, the other part is that you have to know when to get back in, and then you're really exposing yourself to being wrong twice. So my preference is if it's IRA long ball money, just keep it aggressive. You don't know what's going to happen with the price of oil. You don't know what's going to happen with Chinese numbers. They're looking actually pretty good right now for the first time in a while. And then, with your safe money, if you've been making extra money like most people in this valley have that are tied to some part of the growth, maybe be more conservative with that. You can go get a CD for over 2% at your local bank right now without tying it up for very long. Mm-hmm. Now, 2% is not a master stroke in your financial life, but it's a whole lot better than a stick in the eye and 0%. So that's the sort of conversations we're having.
It's better than inflation. If you're a business and you could put it in there for 6 months.
And by definition, the short-term rate usually is inflation. There's some disconnects, but yes, if you're not actively managing your cash, especially as a business too, you're really missing out. That's where you sharpen the pencil.
Put it in the money market, put it somewhere.
Yep.
You can write a check on it if you need to.
And I tell my clients, when you see that balance continue to grow, well, then you can commit it to more risk. Then you bring it to, in your business, you can acquire, you can grow. Go with your financial advisor. They've got some options. Bonds are paying much better than they used to. There's things that weren't working that now are working. There's complicated investments out there called structured products that didn't used to do squat, and now they're showing some opportunity and upside. So, everything changes, but more than that, these good times, they're going to stick around for a while, I think. I don't see these triggers. We talked about oil. Oil's less than it was a year ago. Did you know that, Tom?
Yeah.
$68 a barrel last year, 64 about right now. That's interesting.
And we're at $2.75 gas. I don't know where we were last year at this time. But.
And these oil companies are coming out with strong earnings right now, too. Their stock prices aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
That's a big disconnect.
Well, speaking of inflation, from our text line, why is there inflation? Mike?
Boy, way to throw a softball at me, right?
Right, yeah.
Why is the world round?
Yeah, right.
So we have a monetary policy that the Fed controls, and they want inflation to occur.
Right.
So this doesn't quite answer why there is, but it maybe answers why there will continue to be. We want things to be more expensive in the future than they are now. That's capitalism dictates action now. And so if you can buy something for less money now, use it to make money in the future, that promotes economic activity. We don't need to say growth. We need to say economic activity.
Well, and another thing, too, is that we need the profit to innovate the products down the road.
There needs to be incentive.
Yeah.
And that's where we get to, is there's incentive. And so inflation, the idea that something, a candy bar is going to cost twice as much in the future, promotes that innovation, growth, and demand. Now, we have a growing population base. That growing population base is consuming more. So when you get to the real root of why is there inflation, you need to get into that underlying demand for that value. It's possible that we could rig up a monetary system that would have a flat inflation, theoretically, that would somehow react perfectly to it all. But then we would have disruption in terms of the needs for doing these things. Now, yes, when we look at stock market returns, when I sit down with clients, talk about retirement planning, we talk about, let's strip inflation out of this, because we want to talk about how you're living today. Right now, you're comfortable, hopefully, and you're living off of X, and you're able to save Y. And in the future, when you're in retirement, you won't be saving Y, you'll be living off of Y, and the amount that you need is X plus inflation.
Yeah.
So these metrics get confusing, they get in the way. And in terms of, why is there inflation, it does come down to the opportunity cost of that money being an economic incentive for doing activity. And so that's probably not the most cleanest answer out there, but I think I didn't offend any academics by going that way.
What do you think, Shane? Inflation? Got a definition?
Yeah, well, to me, it's political. It's political policy. For better part of 60 years, economists have told us that full employment in Western civilization is 3 to 5%.
Yeah.
Unemployment. 3 to 5% unemployment is actually full employment, because economically you can't fully employ everyone. Well, I think
there's always somebody between jobs, and there's also a certain segment of society that's just totally unemployable.
The present administration
and here we are.
Disproving that. So now that political policy has led to a willingness for debt. And debt has been the premise of the last administration, who didn't want inflation. If you had inflation, everyone would panic because the cost of the debt he was incurring would drastically go up. So he did anything he could, including, restricting the GDP growth of the country, so there would be no inflation. Because naturally, with growth and the greater GDP, you're going to have demand for labor, which you have to pay more for. That creates inflation. You're going to have demand for products, which causes them to go up in price, creates inflation. So if you keep the GDP down as an economic policy of politics, you have a better opportunity being a progressive liberal than you are a capitalist Republican. So now the key is maintaining inflation rate that's reasonable. Now, the 70-year-old rule for inflation is you pay off the debt by only one of two ways: raising taxes or inflation. So if you have 3% inflation a year in 10 years, that's 30%. So you've reduced your cost of your debt by basically 30%. So that's how it's been. Those are the economic scores that we look at from the standpoint of the market. And, politics now are all halfway out the door because of the present administration. And he's proving that less taxes initiate stronger growth, but that's because it's insightful to the reality that 61% of Americans are employed with companies with less than 500 employees. It's not an industrial or technical revolution anymore. It's a service revolution.
There you go.
Wow. We're getting deep and theoretical on a Wednesday morning here. Keep the hands at 2 and 10, folks.
Well, here's one that's directed at you from our text line, 478-8298. For me, inflation disincentivizes saving money because my money is worth less in the future.
I love the fatalistic view of that. I really do.
Okay. So
eat your dessert first is what that method is.
Yeah.
So the idea that you would hold cash is a disincentive, and that's part of this economic growth strategy. Yeah. So if you have cash under the mattress, you feel safe, but that cash under the mattress is becoming worth less over time. And so the point is correct, is that what's the incentive for making money and saving right now? If you're not willing to play the game, that would be the way to say it. And the game is growth. And the growth doesn't have to be in the stock market, but that's usually where the retirement assets go.
Well, you want to at least beat inflation.
And so that's why a lot of people are so fond of real assets. Land, gold, commodities, grain bins full of grain, whatever it is, and stocks, and to some degree other financial instruments too. So yes, if you're not willing to play the game, inflation can be a real bummer, and inflation is a bummer. I mean, think about it. Like I was driving with my daughter, and I was telling her about this study that said, 50% of all millennials think they're going to be millionaires by the age of 35. That's because us helicopter parents are shining their vision boards up so good all the time.
You can be anything you want to be, darling.
And I said, do you think you'll ever be a millionaire? She said, whoa, I don't know. I hope so, but geez. I said, well, the bad news is that by the time you're my age, $1 million really won't be that much.
Yeah, that's the sad news.
That's the sad news. I mean, these days it takes a reasonable Bozeman couple about $2 million to retire at a relatively early age, and this is just a loose metric. But it's hard to do it if you're going to live a long life in retirement. It's hard not to do that without having at least $1 million to your name, free and clear beyond housing expense.
Yeah. Well, that's why, for the texture's benefit, what about artificial manipulation of commodities?
Well,
that's always going to happen, because that's why they're not included in inflation, because they are market demand or influence or countries or you name it. That's why we don't have gas and food in inflation,
right?
And commodities, pretty much. Yeah.
What we're arguing is that thanks to the Fed, there is artificial manipulation of it all anyway. So we diversify. I mean, if you put all your money into gold, and it turns out that Bitcoin becomes the new version of gold, then,
where are you?
Bummer.
Yeah.
And if you put all your money into soybeans and the Farm Bill changes how it allocates, then you have a problem with soybeans, so the impact tariffs and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So you have to play the game. That's the gist, is that otherwise maybe this caller's right. What's the point of saving? Just live for today and know that you're going to work for a while, and eventually you'll go on to the social security net.
Hopefully you made enough in your top 35 years.
But if you are of that bent, I suggest at least taking some of your mattress cash and put it in real assets. If it's gold, coins and things like that, sure, better than nothing.
Well, go ahead, Shane.
I was going to say, I think your point about manipulation of commodities may have reason that they're not included in the statistics regarding inflation. It's also fluctuation. Yeah. I mean, the average price of gasoline in your country right now is $2.10, but in California it's $4.50.
Right.
Why? Because they've just gone over to summer, gasoline, and they have 32 different mixtures in California. Yeah. And so people have to pay more in California for gasoline than you do in Nebraska, right?
Right. Yeah. And their state taxes are higher for emissions concerns that they have, and for road maintenance they have.
Quarterly fluctuations in prices of these commodities or other things they don't include would cause, I think, a lot of concern for people, because they see these vast fluctuations in inflation.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Knox a trill warning. It'll be the third commercial, so stay tuned for that. I know you can't wait to hear it, so we'll be right back. All right, it is 23 minutes after the hour. It is Wednesday, April 24th. 2019, 50 degrees outside. Nice, pleasant day out there. We're going to have rain the rest of the week, or snow, and who knows what.
Oh, this time, it's awesome. I mean, the grass comes up this color green. I grew up in
green.
Southern California, full disclosure.
I know, yeah.
And, we don't get this is awesome.
I know, you got to mow 365 days a year.
You wake up and your driveway's covered with worms and the robins are going bonkers. We had a young moose in our yard the other day.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
we don't live far out of town.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Shane Matavin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. Tom Eagle off your morning mayor. We're talking with Mike McCormick. And taxes drive higher gas prices more than anything else, in my opinion. And, they're talking about raising the gas tax, which I don't think they've raised since 93. Is that right, Shane, do you think?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, 93, I think was the last time we had a increase in gas tax.
Right. We've been talking about this
national,
for a while.
Anyway, National anyway.
Boy, if there's a time to do it, it's now with a pretty good cap on oil supply, even though it's spiking up recently.
Yeah.
But gosh, it's a big push-pull right now with this fossil fuels thing.
Yeah.
The climate change concerns that are going on have gotten my attention.
Yeah.
And I know that I want to credit this station of helping me get a more balanced view, because a lot of my background's more on the liberal side, really, the more liberal environmental side. So I'm happy and thankful to be here with you and all the listeners and talking about things. And people get really, they're taking things pretty literally these days. And the discussions that I've had with people about recycling are getting a bit hysterical.
Yeah, I'm sure.
A bit hysterical.
I don't know. Everything I've read is that recycling places are overloaded with stuff. They can't process what they've got.
Well, right, and it's just that they need to process this stuff the same way that it gets processed when it gets made. I'm not saying it's a good idea that we go to a $10 billion world population and we don't recycle and
Sure.
But the studies about what the right thing to do is, what has the most impact to do is. Yes, the climate seems to be warming. That seems to be pretty true. And it's probably because we're here on the earth, and I didn't want to go this way. But anyway, my point is that when we talk about market forces and we're talking about energy, there's some really interesting things that are happening because we are seeing new players in there, and we're looking at differentiation between a company like Chevron that has diversified their income streams that does include some alternative energy. It's a lot more into the natural gas and other areas.
I think Exxon's doing the same thing. I mean,
Exxon's not as much.
Yeah.
Exxon is staying to their old school guns that when you need oil, you're going to come to the big oil guys, and we got it, and you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, they're talking about taking CO2 out of the air and things like that.
They're talking, but their numbers are showing.
Don't show it yet.
So they are not participating in this rally of oil stocks, and that's interesting because maybe that's a new diversification play for people, is that you've got a non-correlated asset to the market based upon this underlying demand for fuel that won't probably go away in the near term.
All right. Let's take a quick phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Well, I might as well admit that this is Daniel R. Peterson because I'm going to have to make a stand.
Okay.
May have some textbook reasons for inflation and a continued rate of unemployment, but real people on the real street don't necessarily look at it that way. For instance, Eric Hoffer, who both wrote a classic called The True Believer and worked as a longshoreman until 65, said that a society that treats the talented as royalty and ridicules and keeps down the untalented is just looking for trouble. And, of course, Ron Paul says that inflation is just blowing the pocketbooks out of the pockets of the little people. It's a game for the movers and shakers. In 1913, coffee cost a nickel a cup. Now it costs a couple of bucks. There's no reason for that. The Federal Reserve was put in place in 1913 to stabilize these sorts of things. It didn't follow through on those promises. So it's just the rich man's game to get us on the hamster wheel to work harder and harder and produce more and more. You have to look at things from the little person's perspective, not just the textbook of the puppet masters.
Well, I would answer that the people who can't afford the $2 cup of coffee show up at McDonald's and get the 75-cent one.
Well, it's still not a nickel.
Well, it's not a nickel, but the people making the money at that time weren't making, what do we make? Our average hourly wage right now is around $25 an hour.
That's what I was going to say. Is if wages increase.
Whoa. Look, when he makes comments like this, you have to respond in kind. Okay, 100 years ago when a cup of coffee was a nickel, people were throwing their waste out the second story of buildings onto the street. They were lifting 900 million pounds of horse manure, a year in New York City. So, I mean, without valuation, greater value, you don't have advancement, you don't have development, you don't have money to spend on creating a better civilization.
All right, gotta go. I'm up against the clock. I'm sorry.
It was the people that figured that out, not the rich men.
Well, it was people that found a need and filled it.
That's exactly.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. It is 24 minutes before the top of the hour, Wednesday, April 24, 2019, 50 degrees outside. Shaman Taubman on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Tommy Goloff, your morning mayor in the house. Mike McCormick Financial Services, and we got a bunch of text messages here that we got, and I just closed it out.
Oh, boy.
Come on. Let me go back here real quick, and let's take a phone call, and then we'll get it reestablished. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Morning, gentlemen. Steve-O.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, Tom, I just wanted to make the comment. Seems like these socialists never learn the concept that there's no such thing as a free lunch, or maybe they just need to take a basic course in simple supply and demand economics. I mean, if the agenda the left is pushing, if you look at three of their main things they're proposing, for example, that being, health care for everyone, the Green New Deal, and what that would entail as far as refacing and retooling everything, not to mention having to get rid of things that are now obsolete. And then you look at universal, college tuition, free tuition for everybody. You don't seem to realize that's paid for by someone, and it's not our government. There's only certain sources of revenue, and most of it comes from the taxpayer. But, when you put a pen to that, it's really interesting because, I'm trained as a mechanical engineer. When I put a pen to it, usually when I get beyond 18 zeros in my calculations, I figure it's a moot point. And that's how I look at this situation because, they're talking about the cost of a border wall, which is chump change compared to what, they're proposing on the left as far as rabid socialism. And I have a question I think I couldn't ask three better guys, and that is, let's just assume that the left is successful and they institute their socialist agenda and they win in 2020. What ramifications, Mike and Tom and Shane, do you think that would have on all the economy as far as retirement income? Because that would be such a lot of retirees have a fixed income, and that would so escalate costs potentially that, I wonder how adequately you really could plan for retirement because, it would so skew our economy that some things I think would actually bankrupt. I'd really like your comments on how, I know it's speculation, but how do you guys feel if the left is successful, they get elected, gain power, and institute their social agenda, the overall effect that would have on our economy and some of the things that you so often talk about on your Wednesday program. I'll hang up.
Okay.
Those are your comments, and thanks for the time.
All right, thank you. Mike, you want to start off with that one?
Give it a go. Thanks for the question. Of course, we have to say changing administrations over history have not indicated stock market returns. However, we just had a period of intense deregulation that Shane knows well about, and that has spurred a lot of economic growth. We've had we're in a time of business revitalization, and we have a very favorable tax policy. If the administration were to change, those things would also change, and there would be a shock to the system to adapt to the new rules that may have more inefficiencies in there. And so you would see, from the retiree perspective, you would see probably assets not go up as much. You'd probably see reduction in net worth values, or growth rates at least, that you would have. And so I would see the problems for retirees being more that, the growth that and this is going to happen at some point. The growth that people have experienced in the past decade is not likely to be replicated in the next decade, regardless of the administration, but more so if we're having a reversion to high regulation, higher tax rates, bigger government sort of things, because it's just inefficient is where it is. I'm not going to get political on it, but it's just less efficient than letting a company go out and just let it rip, right? In terms of the switch over to a Green New Deal sort of thing, let's go with the idea that if we had a need to do this, if sea level rose, there would be economic damage in areas, and there would be a significant hurdle to get over. But in the long run, we'd have innovation that might somehow bring us out of that. And so as we transition from a lower dependence on fossil fuels to more dependence on other things, there's going to be innovation, there's going to be technology. Is it being done in a right way that promotes economic growth and stimulates the economy that people can take advantage of? Well, here's just a little anecdote. There was a talk given the other day, not particularly well organized, that was pro-environmentally responsible investing, SRI investing. And I wrote about this in my recent newsletter. And the numbers are showing that people that have been investing socially responsibly, which basically means no cigarettes, no oil, have made as much money, and in some cases more money, than people that have not. Now, this, on the face of it, is a win for the liberals or whatever, right? Oh, socially responsible investing makes you more money, and you're promoting new causes, and because you have to be forward visionary. Well, when you think about it, when you pull your money away from oil, and we've had a problem with oil investments for the past decade, that solves some of the performance problems. The other one is, where does most of your money go to? Well, it goes to technology companies, because they can't be putting the thumb down. Apparently, their use of energy is not a bad thing for the environment. They're clean jobs. Everybody wants them. So they get the stamp of approval for all the SRI people. And when you overload your investments in technology, you tend to do better because you're more aggressive in growth. It doesn't talk about how your risk spectrum may have totally changed by investing socially responsible.
All right.
So it's cloudy, but my view is never a doomsday one. But yeah, there'll be some hurdles for sure.
We got to take a break, and then we'll come back and get Shane's thoughts on that.
And I'm not going to be around to rebuttal, Shane, so thanks for sharing the time.
Mike, have a good week.
It's all yours. I'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks a lot.
Mike's got to go. We'll be right back with Shane's thoughts on that as well. So hang on. 13 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Wednesday, April 24, 2019, 52 degrees outside. Tommy Goloff, your morning mayor, in the house, and Shane Tobin, half man, half amazing, on the line with me as my co-host. And this is the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And the question before the break, Shane, was, hey, if the new Green Deal does get put in place, what does that do to retirement folks' costs? Life as we know it? Will it be over or what?
Upside is one thing we promote all the time is imagination, innovation, invention, and innovation.
Right.
So all the things they're talking about, they all sound good, but if there isn't the invention or innovation of technology to accomplish it, it's just going to. I mean, you saw what the Mayor of New York, de Blasio, said yesterday. They're not going to build any more steel and glass towers in New York City.
Right, yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, good. So she scares away Amazon. He scares away every global developer who wants to build a building in the center of the world. I mean, these people they're on a.
I don't know. I'm surprised the unions weren't all over him for that. You know,
exactly.
I mean, come on.
So anyway, in response to that's the upside. Innovation, imagination, and invention will possibly allow these changes. The downside is if they're not, even if they attempt any of this, looking at the oil industry and the vast amount of effect that would have.
Right. Yeah.
After now finally becoming oil independent and not needing oil, you know, you and I, you know, I mean, we'd take hours to talk about the stuff that would happen, and so no, you don't want to be there if they get elected.
Yeah. Well, just, they're talking about Medicare for all, and we just heard last night Medicare's got, 6 years, I think, before it goes bankrupt? Come on.
Exactly. I mean, and he talks about education, the U.S. government's been funding education since 2010, and now there's $1.7 billion in debt.
Yeah.
Well, so there you go. That's the perfect answer.
And just throw that debt out the window. We don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Call you on the air. What's going on?
So let's take a look at if this even happened. Okay, number one.
Yeah.
Why they go, basically communism went, and this started way back around Gorbachev. It was always, we'll go call us the Green Party. That's the communists in this country. We used to call them the Reds or the commies. They moved over here. Now, Gorbachev, he got his little place right there in the Presidio, right there in San Francisco. And, as sick as that city is, everybody there is communist kind of thinking. That's why they got stronghold there. So they've been working on this for about 30 plus 40 years. And before, that's when they really started doing a presence here. And basically, it's communism under green instead of calling them the Reds like we used to.
Yeah. And
if they want their pipe dream, their sick, lucid dreaming of the perfect area or perfect United States, what they're going to create is mayhem. And I guarantee you, if they get that in, you give it about a year and a half, and 18 months later, you will see this country in a riot. I mean, you will not have a United States. I don't think that would happen because there's too much. That's why they want to get rid of that electorate college, because the electoral college it comprises people in the smaller states.
Yeah,
people.
Well, it gives them a voice. Gives them a voice.
Yeah, and that's so.
And if they add voting prisoners to their voter rolls, come on.
Can you even dream of somebody thinking like that?
I know. It's where can we get more votes? Where can we buy more votes?
What minority group can we protect?
Yeah, right. Yeah, which victim group can we go after?
I don't know. It makes you insane just even thinking about the possibility. But they have done it for years. It's get all the youth in there. That's they won't get that. They won't get that voting age changed. I guarantee you that.
Well, I don't think so. I don't know.
But here's where these people are coming from. I mean, these are the ultimate dope addicted 60 babies, and that are trying to get this stuff in there now. So I don't know.
Yeah.
In the meantime, fly low to avoid the radar and keep your powder dry.
Okay. Thanks, Russ. All right, we got to take another quick break here. We don't have a rush update. I haven't had for a couple of days. I'm not sure why, but anyway, we'll go on without it. We'll be back in 3 minutes. 4 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Wednesday, April 24, 2019, 52 degrees outside. Shane Tallman on the line with me from beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. And Tom Eagle off your morning mayor in the house. I almost forgot my Boston fans there. Got to get a Boston song in here before the end of the hour. And, oh, boy, let's see. Coming up tomorrow, we've got open lines tomorrow, and it is Thursday. And so we'll it's open lines for all you guys to come in. Let's look at some texts that we got. The cost of Mueller's investigation, $3,200,000 Benghazi investigation. So there you go. Is your phone off, son? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Okay. Well, usually you kind of show it to me rather than look at it. So give me a call. Why don't you? We can still hear you, So
yeah, I know. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you can still talk. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's just my phone. I can't.
Yeah. Shane has to have his phone on to hear the callers. So
yes.
we haven't that's the easiest workaround we could find on that one. So, all right. So we'll get him back on the phone at least. So,
yeah. Exactly.
All right. So anyway, cost of Mueller's investigation compared with $3,200,000 for Benghazi, and Benghazi went on for what, like 10 years or something? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, right. It seemed like.
Somebody asked about Voices of Montana and John Arneson. John Arneson recognizes Passover, so John may be taking Passover off for the couple of days there. So they may have had I know they have a lady that comes in there and subs for him from time to time. Do Trump supporters ever wonder why true lifelong conservatives do not like Trump? Well, I don't know. I'm sure there's some. There's probably lifelong liberals that didn't like Obama.
That's correct.
I don't know. I mean, well, no. I guess I don't know. I can't speak for Trump supporters. So
no, you can't.
Yeah. Let's see. And a question for Mike that we talked about briefly off the air. To me, it makes more sense to retrofit cars to run on natural gas, then change it to an electric vehicle after that. And that makes sense to us, too, I think, Shane and I.
And the fact that this opportunity will change everything, because everything will be retooled and more people will be building cars to replace the combustion engine. So another example of great innovation. It's great.
And I think that's the way that's eventually the way that it's going to go, I believe. And the post office, I think, went completely to electric.
That's right.
Or not electric, but gas, natural
sorting.
gas.
Look at the sorting equipment. Yeah, that was the big thing.
Yeah,
sorting
that too.
Right?
Yeah.
With zip codes, it changed, and the bar. Remember
That's it.
Yeah. Computer bar,
Yeah, 478-8298. Green is the new red. I'm a lifelong conservative, and I love Trump. So there you go. If you're wondering about what the Trump supporters think, you just got it. Say goodbye, Shane.
Goodbye, Mayor. Talk to you tomorrow. Be happy, be safe, good man.
All right, man. Take care. Glad to have you here. Thanks for being here. All right, we got to go, and that'll wrap it up for this segment, and we'll be back tomorrow, obviously, and open lines tomorrow. Oh, no, we got the God Squad tomorrow. I forgot about the God Squad. Yeah, it's Thursday. We got the God Squad in here, so stay tuned for that. So we'll be back tomorrow.